Welcome back to Bame Farm. We're having a wonderful Wednesday morning here. Dad and Brad are out picking corn for the farmer's market. Well, I'm trying to get something together so we can chop some sweet corn off to feed the cows. The flail chopper is experiencing some issues. Now, if you remember watching last year before we got started, we put a new auger in. That's doing well. But something new we need to look at is the blower here. Now you see this bend. Now coming around, the rest of these are straight. That's not a new problem. This has been bent since the day we got it. Oh boy, it's a hard one to turn. And it's hard because somewhere jeez. Well, the bearings are going out. If I get this thing in the right position. Yeah, when it gets wedged like that, that's not good. I think that's because it's falling down. But hopefully, you can see that thing moves. It should not move. So before the bearings completely go out and destroy everything, now that coupler, that sprocket there is going bad. Need to replace that. And it's very hard to see back in there, but I think the seal has come out of that bearing. So before this makes a mess, we are putting it on the disabled list. However, the big chopper, which everybody's been wanting to see, since we're done chopping off patches of grass for the year, we can see the 1890 peeking around the corner. We can use it to chop off the sweet corn. Now, finally, late in the season, there isn't a whole lot of weeds in the sweet corn. Earlier on there was, and so it was okay to green chop it using the flail chopper. Cows would eat the weeds. They ate a lot of stuff I guess they didn't know about and seemed to be okay with it. So here we are. Now this thing needs radiator work, but I think we can limp it through another day. And now we got to get past our winter problems. Now, as part of casting and sort of a precautionary measure, engines have freeze-out plugs, which have popped out. Now, we were just running water in this thing because we had radiator leaks. There's no point in putting expensive antifreeze in it. And running it on water, we weren't running into issues overheating because I got a sweatshirt on this morning. Last time we're chopping silage, it's 70 degrees or less. It's not super hot. It's not like it's in the 90s and those extra 20 degrees will really get you for cooling capacity. Well, it's cool, so we were running water. And we had taken this tube off to drain all the water out of the block. But apparently there was still some water left somewhere, and it pushed out the freeze-out plugs. So, not all of them. It pushed out 4 though, and I'm glad it didn't push out all the hardest ones to get, I think. So I got to put those in this morning and fill it full of water. I moved it out here. You can run this thing for about 5 minutes before the buzzer. It's got a buzzer for low oil pressure, temperature, and just the fact that the key's on. But usually when the key's on and the engine's not running, you're probably going to have low oil pressure. So I got 4 freeze-out plugs to put back in. Luckily, they're not exactly all the hardest ones, but I'll clean these up, put some RTV around them to try to help seal them up extra good. As you can see, this one popped out before. And we'll put them back in, so wire brush time, a lot better than that. And I'll show you guys when I go to start tapping these back in. We have, shiny freeze-out plugs. I cleaned them all up, 4 of them. And, well, there's one freeze-out port. There's another one, and the third one's down there in the very end. This first one will be easy to get to. Got that as cleaned up as good as it's going to get. for what stuff I have. Put a little bit of RTV around it, the blue silicone sealer, and I'm going to try to tap it in there. This is going to be a hard spot to let you guys see all this. See if I can't balance you somewhere, and hopefully not be in the way when I'm hammering this thing in. Okay, sit. Perfect. Okay. So for this, to tap these in, I have a wrist pin from when we rebuilt the 2810, and it is actually the perfect size. It is like almost right to the edge, gets all in there, nice snug fit. Hopefully gently tap this in. Now I just love this RTV stuff, put it on everything. It's kind of like Frank's Red Hot, has commercials. Put that on everything. Probably don't need too much of this. Okay, we got one ready. The hard or fun part is putting it in. Now I can sit it on the end of my wrist pin to help get it in there. I mean, that's a perfect fit. And get it started. Hopefully we're going on straight. And tap it in. Hopefully tapping it in somewhat straight. Now usually these are almost flush, or maybe sticking out just a little bit. I have no clue what's going to stop me, but we're not flush yet. So you kind of get the idea of tapping that in. Now unfortunately, we're in very tight quarters down here, and I can't get a big swing. So, I'll remove you guys. I'll let you imagine a bunch more hammering. And luckily, the back side of the engine is much easier access. It's wide open, mostly. More than this is, because I got the exhaust manifold and the starter. All in the way. Yes, I'm sure someone's going to point out the crack that's been like that forever. At some point they probably replaced it or put a new gasket on and tightened these bolts too tight so it couldn't move freely. I mean, these are usually a very low torque on your manifold bolts. And that way the head can expand and contract separate from your exhaust manifold here. So yeah, that's why we have this piece of rubber belting over the batteries in case there's there's going to be a lot of exhaust leak. Plus, for some reason, that plug has been missing forever. And this is a whole lot of nothing. From the factory, there's just supposed to be spark arresters. It looks kind of like a muffler, but that's somebody's weld-up job, and there's exhaust leak everywhere. Now, I did check the oil. I have ran it since these have come out. Other than probably needing an oil change, I think the oil looks okay. So, nothing got hurt other than killing the time of getting this thing all sealed back up. This is the only thing that might make me ever think a Deutz air-cooled engine is a good idea. Maybe. Maybe. Just maybe. Okay, well, I'm going to get the rest of these tapped in, hopefully. Maybe show you any other easy one on the back, because this it doesn't make for good footage when I can't get in there and screaming and shouting. Okay, it'll probably be fairly quiet. So, back with more action. Okay, so that first one is in place. The second freeze-out plug, still got to work on. And this one down here almost looks like it's sort of out, but not really. I'm not sure. But I moved the batteries out of the way so I could get in there better. If I come around to the front side, I already put these in. I mean, there's so much room and easy access. I'm very glad the one behind the oil cooler and the filters did not come out, because that'd be a pain in the butt. So those two are in. Now, a funny observation, the holes on this side were bigger, and not that I could tell a difference in size on the freeze-out plugs, but I put the larger, tighter fitting ones over here, because there was one that was very loose and I about slid it through. I'm like, that's not good. So I had to quick sort through. Good thing I didn't get two put in over here and use the two bigger ones for the other side, the larger freeze-out plugs. Now, the purpose of freeze-out plugs, I mean, obviously the freezing out part, but the hole is in the block from casting. And that is it's essentially a clean-out port for the molding material, which is usually like a sand or wax, or a mix of both. Now, don't quote me on that. I wouldn't say I'm an expert on casting engines, but I think it's like some sort of sandy material. And so those are actually used as clean-out ports. And I guess the byproduct is that they put the freeze-out plugs in, which is also a safety precaution when you don't have enough antifreeze in your coolant system, that it'll freeze. So I'm hoping in the next week or so, in between baling more hay, that we can get the radiator fixed. Now that's probably just going to be capping a couple cores, or trying to find where the leak is and soldering over the hole, hopefully. Don't want to have to buy a new radiator. I mean, yeah, we chop silage, but it's not like we're chopping every day, doing custom chopping. So the value behind dumping money in this machine, well, it wouldn't say it'd always pay for itself. So let's see if I can get these last ones in. So, lovely RTV around the edge. Ever so carefully. That's what I love about the wrist pin here. It's a pretty good fit. I think so we're tapping right at the edge. And I can see from the exhaust manifold through this gap up here. I don't have a good angle in there, so that kind of worries me. I'll help it out a bit with my fingers, get all blue. And of course, there's always seems like two spots on when you're putting circular things in a round hole, that something's just a little bit ovaled. So I got another punch with a very wide tip to hopefully tap around the edges in a nice circle. Ready? Today we're going to get a little bit of an explanation as to why here at Bame Farm we flail chop the sweet corn. Or most of the time we do. And I guess the first point being is while we went out to chop this morning, some sweet corn, since the flail chopper needs some time in the shop to put some bearings in the blower, I plugged it. I plugged the big silage chopper. Now, I wasn't going real fast, only chopping 2 rows, wasn't chopping 3, just nosing along on 2 rows. And I didn't plug the blades. That's not a problem. The blades, I don't know if I'll ever plug the blades on this. We're usually never in that much of a rush. As you can see, there are quite a few blades in there. It's a big drum. Now what did I do? I plugged the blower. I didn't plug it too bad to get it all the way back into here, so that's good. I caught it soon enough. But it is plugged this far up the spout, and probably, by the sounds of it, most of the way out to the end. Now why did it do this? Sugar. Sweet corn is full of sugar. It's not just in the cob, it's all up and down the stalk. And it makes it sticky. Now I don't know if I can demonstrate the stickiness for you. You have to take my word for it. But it just cakes to everything. And not to say it's like glue, but the field corn isn't as sticky. It'll move through better. And seeing as this is the first time we used it, there was, some cobwebs from sitting over winter. It's just got to work those out and get everything shined up. Well, it wasn't that shiny, but I did chop 2 rows the full length of the patch, so we did pretty good. I don't know what finally got me. Maybe I was trying to go too fast, but still, it was only 2 rows. I don't know. I did plug it, and I'm mostly blaming it on the sweet corn being sticky. That's why we flail chop it. Now, the chopper chops it up into teeny tiny little pieces, so that lets the moisture out faster, along with the sugars, and then that's what sticks to stuff. Now, the flail chopper doesn't chop it up as fine. The flail chopper, at best, cuts it up, and, well, it's not the whole stalk. It's smaller pieces than the whole stalk, but not much smaller. So you don't have all those cuts to release the moisture and the sugar out. So with these fine little pieces, a little bit of moisture will make it really get stuck. Now, this is actually left over from last year. Some dried up stuff on top of the sharpener. Okay, so the fact that it's sugary and the smaller pieces got me. Now, I also tend to flail chop the sweet corn more because the sweet corn doesn't grow as tall, doesn't shade out the weeds as well. So whatever grass or other things that come up in the sweet corn, the flail chopper will cut those off, will feed it to the cows. Put the fertilizer out in the field, so I might as well get the most use out of it for whatever grows out there. And the cattle love it, the sweet corn, enough sweet corn mixed in that keeps it all sugary sweet, and they're happy. I guess those are the 2 reasons why we mostly green chop the sweet corn. And also, it's a lot less fuel. Taking the 3208 cat out in the field to chop off 3-4 rows for a couple days worth of feed. Oh, I'd say uses 2 to 3 times more fuel than just taking the flail chopper out there behind one of the 3-cylinder Fords. So a number of factors. Now, if we had a direct cut head for this, and we have a hay pickup and we've got the row head for corn, but they made a direct cut head that looked like they were putting a little hay bine out front. That would be nice to find, because then we could use this for the grass green chopping in the spring, and we wouldn't have to get the flail chopper out all the time. In fact, we wouldn't really have a need for the flail chopper, so it'd be one less machine to maintain. Granted, the flail chopper isn't per se overly maintained. Well, we'll just make a pile of sweet corn over there. I did bring a wheelbarrow out. I guess I could set that up and try to save some of this. Now, as you saw us crudely with the hose putting water in this thing, it hasn't started leaking any water yet out of the radiator. So I guess that's good and bad, but eventually if we ever overheat this thing, I'm sure that'll be the first spot it leaks. Because the radiator cap, we just sit it on here. It keeps stuff out. There's no pressure against it because we're trying not to over-pressurize the radiator to blow out our hole that we have yet to plug and find. Now, my head movement here is going to make some of you dizzy, so we might not show too much of cleaning out the spout here. But you get the idea. Now, there is a reverser, which is great if you plug everything out front, but this is just a stop and dig it out by hand thing when you plug the blower. Usually this doesn't happen too often, but when it does, it's sweet corn. I must say, the cows ate this stuff right up this morning. In fact, they'd probably eat 50% more than what we usually give them, just because they don't have to spend their time chewing the stalks down, and the leaves and everything else. Oh, geez. I'm just going to make a mess here. Well, we'll catch you guys next time. I'm sure magically soon we'll be showing taking this guy out and chopping some sweet corn for the cows. We still have it. Well, we figure we've got 2 or 3 weeks before we start chopping silage. I mean, that corn is still very green. We usually chop silage that's a little less than wet also. I would like to chop it a little greener because I think, you know, there's not all the stalk is completely lignified. Yeah. So there's maybe some more easily digestible fiber in the silage. But we'll see when we get there. We will probably chop silage before we go hiking this year. The last couple years we have not, but we're going to go for our hiking trip later. So, well, we'll catch you with some more action, and hopefully we'll have more machines running than being worked on. So we'll catch you later, have fun, and, well, if you need rain, hopefully you get some rain. If you don't need rain, well, stay dry.